Welcome back to the deep dive. Usually when we talk about Caribbean real estate, the conversation goes straight to white sand, infinity pools, all that.
Retirement dream, yeah.
It's all very glossy, very Travel Channel. But today, we're doing something a little different. We are stripping away that vacation filter and looking at the actual engine room of the Jamaican property market.
Which is a completely different beast than the brochure version.
Right. We've got this really insightful article from Jamaica Homes, written or at least heavily influenced by their founder, Dean Jones. It's called The Quiet Skills That Separate Good Agents from Great Ones in Jamaica. And I'll be honest, when I first saw that title, I expected, a checklist.
The standard corporate stuff. Get your license, learn Excel.
Exactly, buy a nice suit. But Jones argues the complete opposite. He's basically saying that in Jamaica, you can have the law degree, the listings, all the slickest marketing in the world, but if you don't have these specific quiet skills, you're just going to hit a wall. He describes the market as a place that, and I'm quoting here, does not always move at the speed of a spreadsheet.
And that line, that is the thesis for this whole discussion. If you try to force spreadsheet logic onto a Jamaican reality, you will fail.
Right.
So the mission for this deep dive isn't to teach you how to sell a house. It's to look at how an agent really has to act as a translator.
A translator. I like that.
Not just of language, but a translator between, the rigid letter of the law and the messy human lived experience of the island.
That framing makes so much sense. Because looking at the source, the first big hurdle isn't even finding a buyer. It's just understanding what you're actually selling.
Yeah.
Jones lists a grounded understanding of the Jamaican market as the first skill. But, isn't that true everywhere? You need to know your market in New York or London, too.
You do, but the margin for error in Jamaica is just different. The market is so fragmented. In a place like New York, data is king. You can pull comps, look at square footage pricing, you get a pretty accurate number. In Jamaica, those national averages are almost useless.
Useless. That feels a bit extreme.
Well, think about it. Jones uses this great comparison between St. Catherine and Trelawney. On a map, or in some generic report, a 10-acre plot in one might look comparable to a 10-acre plot in the other.
Sure, same size.
But on the ground, they're different planets.
Okay, so break that down for me. Why so different?
St. Catherine is essentially the commuter belt for Kingston. It's high density, it's residential, it's all about infrastructure and getting people to work. Demand there is driven by local professionals, families, the daily grind.
Right.
Trelawney, on the other hand, is heavily influenced by tourism, by agriculture. The zoning is different, the pace is different, the buyer profile is totally different.
So if an agent walks into Trelawney with the St. Catherine strategy, maybe pushing for high-density turnover, they're going to just...
Oh, immediately. They'll faceplant. Jones notes that the Jamaican market doesn't reward hype, it rewards understanding. You have to know if a specific road is scheduled for government repair next year. You have to know if the water pressure in that parish drops during the dry season. A spreadsheet won't tell you that.
Only that grounded local knowledge will.
Exactly.
And that segues pretty hard into the people side of things. If the land is complicated, the people seem even more so. The article highlights communication that respects culture, class, and context.
This is where the psychology gets really, really interesting. In Jamaica, an agent is often dealing with the widest possible spectrum of clients in a single day.
Give me the extremes.
Okay, so at 10 a.m., you might be meeting a returning resident. This is a huge demographic. Jamaicans who left for the UK, the US, Canada, maybe 30 or 40 years ago.
Right.
They've worked hard, they've saved in foreign currency, and now they want to retire back home.
But I'm guessing their memory of home is from 1985, and their expectation of efficiency is straight out of New York or London.
Spot on. They want things done fast, they want clear paper trails, and they have zero patience for bureaucracy. But then at 2 p.m., that same agent is meeting a local family in a rural parish to discuss selling ancestral land.
Okay.
This land, it might not even have a clear title. It might belong to the family, not one person. There could be 6 cousins involved, and 3 of them are abroad.
So you can't walk into that second meeting checking your watch and talking about, closing velocity.
If you do that, you've lost them.
Okay.
And this brings up a specific point Dean Jones makes about silence. I think this is fascinating.
Okay.
In Western sales training, silence is the enemy, right? It means the customer's getting cold feet. You're taught to fill the gap, repitch, keep the energy up.
Right. Always be closing. If they're not talking, they're walking.
But in the Jamaican context, especially with older, more traditional clients, silence doesn't mean disinterest. It means processing. It means the decision has weight.
Mm.
If you're selling a piece of land that's been in a family for 3 generations, that isn't just a transaction. It's a severing of a tie.
So if the agent jumps in and starts chattering about market value during that silence?
It's seen as deeply disrespectful. Yeah, it signals you don't get the gravity of what's happening. You're rushing them. And in a culture like Jamaica's, once you're seen as pushy, the trust just evaporates.
It sounds like the agent has to be a shapeshifter, which explains why the negotiation section of the article felt less like a business tutorial and more like, I don't know, a guide to conflict resolution.
It really is. Negotiation in Jamaica is rarely a straight line. It's not, I offer X, you counter Y, we meet at Z. It's non-linear. It's all wrapped up in emotion and family dynamics.
The article lists 4 factors that shape it: price, pride, timing, or control. I was really struck by pride being on that list right next to price.
Pride is huge. Sometimes a seller refuses a deal, not because the money is wrong, but because they feel the buyer or even the agent didn't approach them with the right level of deference. Or maybe there's a dispute between joint owners. We see this all the time with inherited land. You might have a brother in Kingston who wants to sell, and a sister in Manchester who wants to keep it for her grandkids.
That sounds like a nightmare for an agent. You're not just negotiating a price, you're negotiating a peace treaty between siblings.
That's the job.
Yeah.
Dean Jones argues that the best negotiators aren't the loudest ones. They're the calmest. They're the ones who can read the room and figure out, okay, this isn't about the money. This is about the sister feeling like she's being pushed out. If you can solve that emotional block, the financial block often just dissolves.
But you can't solve everything yourself. Which brings us to the network. I feel like networking is a buzzword we hear in every industry, but the article frames it as interdependence. That feels stronger.
It is stronger because the consequences of a bad network in Jamaica are immediate and they are painful.
Yeah.
In a streamlined market, say buying a condo in Toronto, the ecosystem is somewhat automated. In Jamaica, the system relies on specific humans doing specific things.
You mean like the surveyor, the valuator, the attorney?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a buyer who is ready to go. But you, the agent, recommend a surveyor who is known for taking 3 weeks to turn around a report that should take 3 days.
Oh, no.
Or you recommend an attorney who's brilliant but totally disorganized and just sits on the file.
The deal stalls.
The deal stalls, and the client doesn't blame the surveyor. They blame you. You're the project manager. Jones puts it bluntly. It's not about who you know casually. It's about who shows up when it matters.
Right.
A great agent is basically selling their Rolodex of reliable professionals. If that Rolodex is weak, the agent is weak.
That's a great way to put it. You're curating reliability.
Precisely.
Okay, I want to pivot now to the friction points, the stuff that drives everyone crazy. Section 3 of our breakdown covers managing reality, and the big one here is marketing versus fantasy.
The Instagram versus reality problem.
We see this everywhere, of course. Wide-angle lenses, brighten photos. But Jones seems to think this is especially dangerous in the Jamaican market. Why is the risk higher there?
Well, think about who's buying. A lot of the time, it's that diaspora market we talked about, or foreign investors. They might be looking at these photos from a laptop in London or Toronto.
They can't just drive by on their lunch break.
Right. So they're relying 100% on that digital representation. So you post a photo of a stunning villa on the North Coast. The ocean view is breathtaking. The pool sparkles. But what did you crop out?
The potholes in the access road?
The potholes? Or the fact that the neighboring property is a noisy mechanic shop? Or that the water pressure is non-existent without a private tank and pump?
Ouch.
If a client flies 3,000 miles based on those photos and then pulls up to a pothole-ridden driveway next to a noisy shop, you haven't just lost a sale. You've humiliated them. You've wasted their time and their money. That anger is visceral. Jones warns that overselling damages trust. Underselling limits exposure. You have to walk that line, but err on the side of brutal honesty.
Brutal honesty seems to be the only way to survive. And speaking of the diaspora, we have to talk about technology. The article mentions comfort with technology as a key skill, but it comes with this massive caveat.
The caveat is know your audience. Jamaica is modernizing and fast. You have digital titles, online banking, CRM systems. If you're dealing with that investor from London, you better have DocuSign ready. You better be able to do a 4K video walkthrough on WhatsApp. But if you try to force that tech stack on an 80-year-old seller in a rural parish who prefers to do business face-to-face with a handshake, you're going to fail.
You're alienating the very person who holds the keys.
Exactly. Technology should remove friction, not create it. I've heard stories of deals stalling because an agent insisted on a digital signature process that the seller just didn't understand and, frankly, didn't trust. A great agent knows when to put the iPad away and just sit on the veranda with a pen and paper.
That flexibility is key. But the ultimate friction point, the one that seems to generate the most stories, is time. Skill number 8. Time management in a country where timing is everything.
Ah, the famous island time.
It's a cliche, but cliches usually come from somewhere. How does a professional agent navigate this without driving their international clients completely insane?
The first step is to distinguish between, say, laziness and bureaucratic reality. They are not the same thing. Often, things take longer in Jamaica because the systems are manual or understaffed or just thorough in a way that feels slow.
Like getting a document stamped at the title's office.
Exactly that. That might take weeks. That's not the agent slacking off. That's the calendar of reality, as Jones calls it. The mistake bad agents make is trying to hide this. They go silent because they don't have good news.
There's that silence again.
And it's deadly here. The client just assumes nothing is happening. The skilled agent says, listen, the file is at the title's office. It's been there for 10 days. That's normal. I'll check again on Thursday.
So it's about managing the anxiety, not just the clock.
Correct. Clients can forgive a delay if they understand the context of the delay. They will not forgive being left in the dark. Jones sums it up well. Sometimes the quick matter takes longer, and that is just Jamaica being Jamaica.
You have to bake that into your timeline from the start.
You have to.
We're moving into the final stretch here, and this is where the article goes really deep. We've covered the mechanics, but Section 4 focuses on the core values, the stuff that keeps you in business for 20 years, not just 2.
The character skills.
Right. And the first one is service that goes beyond office hours. Now, I have to play devil's advocate here. Isn't this just a recipe for burnout? If I'm an agent, do I really want to be fielding calls at 9 p.m. on a Sunday?
It's a fair question. But you have to look at the nature of the transaction. For many people in Jamaica, buying or selling land is the biggest financial event of their entire lives. It's terrifying. They're stressed out.
So they need reassurance, not just updates.
They need to know you are there.
Yeah.
But Jones makes a really important distinction. He says, being of service doesn't mean being at someone's mercy. You need boundaries. But the quiet skill is knowing when to break those boundaries.
Oh, okay.
If a client is panicking because they think the deal is falling through, picking up that phone at 8 p.m. saves the deal.
And it builds a loyalty that money just can't buy.
Exactly. It compounds. But you can't fake that level of care, which leads directly to emotional intelligence. We touched on this, but it's worth coming back to. Property is rarely just property.
Jones wrote, every property carries a story. The agent's job is not to erase it, but to help people move forward without losing their footing. That's a beautiful way to think about sales.
It changes the dynamic completely. You aren't just selling a house. You are facilitating a life transition. Maybe it's a divorce. Maybe it's a death in the family. If you treat that like a generic transaction, you're going to step on so many landmines.
You have to honor the story before you can sell the building.
Yes. And underlying all of this, the emotional intelligence, the patience, the negotiation is the big one. Integrity.
The currency of the island.
That's a good way to put it.
Jones calls it the quiet skill that underpins all others. But let's be real. Real estate has a reputation. The shark mentality. In a developing market, isn't there a huge temptation to cut corners? To take a kickback?
Of course. The temptation is always there. Quick money, pressure tactics, hiding a defect to get the deal closed. But here's the pragmatic argument for integrity in Jamaica. It's a small place.
Everyone knows everyone.
Or they know someone who knows you. If you screw over a family in Mandeville, word travels to Kingston faster than you can drive there. If you get a reputation as an agent who advises clients to take bad deals just to get your commission, you're dead in the water. Attorneys won't work with you. Other agents won't show your listings.
So integrity isn't just a moral choice, it's a survival strategy.
It is. Jones says, your reputation will negotiate for you long before you enter the room. When you walk into a negotiation, if the other side knows you're a straight shooter, half the battle is already won. If they think you're shady, the walls go up immediately.
This brings us to the final point. The article calls it the bonus skill, the one that nobody ever puts on a resume, judgment. specifically knowing when to walk away.
This is the hardest one to learn.
Can you give me an example? Because walking away means zero commission. That's got to hurt.
It hurts in the short term, yeah. But imagine this scenario. You have a seller who wants to list a property. But as you dig into it, you realize the title is a complete mess. There are boundary disputes with the neighbors that have never been resolved, and the family is fighting.
But the property itself is valuable. You could just list it and hope for the best.
A bad agent lists it, takes a deposit from a buyer, and then spends the next 2 years in a legal nightmare that never closes. Everyone's angry. The buyer wants their money back. The seller blames the agent.
And your reputation is trashed.
Exactly. The quiet skill of judgment is looking at that whole mess and saying politely, I cannot list this until these issues are resolved. You walk away from the potential commission today to protect your standing for tomorrow.
That takes guts.
It does. But as Jones points out, sometimes the best deal is the one you politely decline. You keep your conscience clear, and more importantly, your phone keeps ringing tomorrow because people trust you.
It really all circles back to the long game, doesn't it? We
Right.
started this deep dive talking about Jamaican real estate, but we've really been analyzing how to operate in any high-stakes, high-context human environment.
Real estate is just the backdrop.
Mm.
The real subject is trust.
So, to wrap this all up, Dean Jones and the team at Jamaica Homes have laid out a blueprint that goes way beyond property. It's about patience, empathy, and the courage to be honest even when it's inconvenient.
I think that's the perfect summary.
So here is my final question for you listening. We've been talking about the quiet skills of an island market, but look at your own job. Look at your own life. Where are you trying to force a spreadsheet solution onto a messy human problem?
And where are you filling the silence when you should just be listening?
Ooh, that's a good one. Ask yourself that next time you're in a meeting. That's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Walk good.